Hello. Today, I would like to talk about something that has been troubling me for quite some time now, but has been escalating. When I look around in the world, I see that there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that believe different things. And some of those beliefs are, well, frightening. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about these ideas of hate and otherness and destruction and death. Because I see it coming to the forefront more and more. I see it affect people that are close to me, including family members. And I think it is exceptionally dangerous for human beings, for all the other life forms that we share this planet with. So I want to talk about it, and it's something that is so complicated. I might have to make a few videos about it because I'm not sure that I'll be able to communicate what I'm feeling and thinking on the first try. But I'm going to try because that's all I can do. I can try. I know I won't get it perfect, but I will make an attempt. So, let's see, where to start? Well, I feel like there's been this idea of hate, otherness, and death and destruction that has taken over the minds of people close to me, my fellow countrymen and women, people around the globe. It's this idea that there's some other. The other could be nature, it could be other people, it could be your neighbor, it could be your family member, it could be your spouse. There's some other that needs to be feared and destroyed and gotten rid of. This idea comes from a place of lack. This idea comes from a place of fear itself. This idea comes from this worldview that the universe is a scary place. It is destructive. It is not meant for you or me. We have to fight. We have to take something from this scary place that we live. And other people are scary, and we need to fight them. That's this idea that I think is horribly destructive. I've seen this idea take hold of more and more people in my lifetime. I'm 41 years old now. It wasn't this strong when I was younger, when I was in college, when I was in medical school, when I was practicing as a doctor. I started to see this some more, but it's gotten really strong lately. I would say the last 5 years, 10 years, no. It's been building. It's been building for a while. I've seen this toxic masculinity spread online. So social media, I think, has a lot of problems. I think that it it preys on people who are afraid, who hate themselves, who hate their lives. And then it redirects that hate that they have for themselves and their lives. It redirects that hate towards other people, particularly people who are vulnerable. For instance, in a country, the social media, not just social media, but corporate media as well, can take that hate that people feel for themselves and their lives and redirect it to vulnerable people like immigrants, people who are not citizens but legal residents, to people of a different race, a different skin color, a different religion. I think social media and corporate media has been very successful in redirecting this hate and anger that people have at their living conditions. It's at their own living conditions. But it sucks to hate yourself. It sucks to hate the life that you have. It's much easier to blame that living situation, that quality of life that's not good. It's much easier to blame that on the other, whatever the other is. It could be immigrants, brown or yellow or red-skinned people. It could be gay people, lesbians, trans people. It could be some other nation. It could be someone who believes in love and empathy. It's really shocking to me how effective social media and corporate media are in giving angry people targets of vulnerable people. Women. I did not include that in the list. This toxic masculinity makes these young men, and older men too, who are unhappy with their lives, it gives them this outlet for their anger on women who are typically smaller and less strong than men physically. It tells these young men and older men that women are property. They can be beat up and raped, and their only purpose is to have babies and to not talk back. That is a horrible, horrible ideology. It is so harmful to humanity. Literally half of humanity, women. It's also destructive to men too, who espouse those ideals. That embodiment of hate, that taking on of hate and anger and fueling it and growing it inside themselves, I think eats away at the body and the mind and all the relationships that person has. I've seen that firsthand with someone close to me. He succumbed to these ideas of hate and anger because he was unhappy with his life. And this was an easy out. that person has called me a pussy before, multiple times. And by that, I think he means he's trying to call me a coward or weak. Again, he's spouting off these ideas that he's absorbed from the internet. But in reality, that person is weak for not being able to see themselves, not being able to accept that their choices led to their life where they are now. That person is the coward for not being able to face themselves and do something about it. If they don't like who they are, or where they are, or what their life is, they need to change it. They need to make choices. They need to do something about it. But instead, that person calls other people cowards and a pussy. Well, that person is actually the person who is weak. Now, is that person fully at fault? Well, they did choose a lot of actions that led to their situation. So, yes, I think they are responsible for their lives. But we also live in a system, a civilization, that encourages this kind of thinking. The social media is driven by clicks, likes, subscriptions. It's driven by eyeballs watching the screen. Messages of love and empathy don't get as many clicks and eyeballs as messages of outrage, anger, hate. This is a problem. Social media is fueling this problem. It's fueling hate, division, and this idea of otherness. When in reality, we all live on one planet. There is no other planet that can keep us alive like this one. Mars doesn't have oxygen that can keep us alive like this planet. It's 99 something percent, or 96 or 99%, something in that range, CO2 that is lethal. Air is too thin for us to breathe. There are no plants on Mars. There may be water, but not on the surface. We live on one planet together. We are all human beings. We all are unique. We all look different. But we're all still alive on one planet. We share this planet with innumerable other life forms. Trees, birds, insects, worms, fish, bacteria, fungi, mushrooms, all kinds of different animals. We're all in this together. But this idea of the other, to be afraid of, to destroy, to get rid of, that no, this is not what I want. I want to be safe from the scary things outside. That is driving our destruction. I think that that's what's driving, currently what's driving this it's really just It's so much. It's this drive of hating immigrants, this drive of worshiping billionaires. It's this drive to increase wealth inequality and subjugate people as servants, to literally enslave people without calling them slaves. It's this drive to cut down forests, to exterminate insects, to keep animals penned up in horrible living conditions just so that we can eat them. It's this drive to wipe out certain human beings that look a certain way or believe a certain thing or say a certain thing. And I see that idea taking over the minds of people that I'm close to and strangers. It's a really troubling time. Now, I feel like I know why it's happening. There really is a crisis that we are all dealing with. It's not the crisis that Christian religious fanatics believe, that there's some kind of Armageddon and rapture coming, where their idea of God is going to come back. That is not, I think, what's happening. I think what's happening is that we literally are in a metacrisis, a crisis of multiple different dimensions. We are in a crisis of overpopulation. We have overshot the carrying capacity of the world. There are too many human beings consuming too much. If we consumed way less, probably still are beyond the sustainable living conditions of this planet. That's one. Climate. Because we have so many people consuming so much and we're burning through so many energy stores that we have found, we have increased the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is warming faster than it ever has in geological time. The rate of warming is faster than anything that's happened before. That by itself can make us all extinct. But that's just one of multiple crises. We have the crises also that we are running out of the fossil fuels that are easily attainable. Doesn't mean that we'll ever completely use up all the fossil fuels that are buried inside the earth, because a lot of them are just too hard and too expensive to get at. But the easily attainable sources of oil, coal, natural gas, they've already been tapped, dug out of the ground or pumped out of the ground. And we've used them up. And we built this whole civilization on the burning of immense amounts of fossil fuels. The fact that 8.2 billion people are alive is a direct consequence of burning those fossil fuels. The fossil fuels are used to make fertilizer, to make food. The food is literally the energy from the ground combined with energy from the sun made into plants that we eat, or plants that we feed to these animals that we cage in horrible conditions and then eat them. Well, we're running out of that. That by itself is a crisis. In order to grow all this food, we had to cut down the forest to make land, clear it out so that we can grow monocrops of different foods. Well, cutting down the forest destroyed the homes of all our neighboring living beings. The number of wild mammals by mass is only 4% of all the mammals walking around on the earth. 30% is humans and 70% is the animals that we cage in horrible conditions to eat. That is a crisis in itself. When you cut down forests, the soil will inevitably degrade and not be able to grow food. There's a time limit on that land. Once you've taken down the forest, the land eventually turns to desert. It's called desertification, or that's a hard word to say. Desertification. I don't know if that's the right word. But that is a crisis in itself. Let's see, what other? Oh, well, in having all these people and trying to control them, we've made all these technologies of war. Namely, nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons can wipe out vast amounts of life forms on this planet just at a push of a button. That's a crisis in itself too. Pollution. Pollution is a crisis. We have all this plastic floating around. It's up in the air. It's in the oceans. It's choking all of our bodies. It's literally in all our brains, microplastics. That's a crisis. We recently had an infection go around the whole planet. There's so many people and we're so crowded that epidemics, well, it can affect everybody, but honestly, I don't think that is nearly as life-threatening as these other crises that I've mentioned already. That's at least 6 or 7 if you include possible pandemics. I mean, bird flu is wiping out like so many animals around the world. Okay, so the reason why I talked about those is because we are in a crisis, a metacrisis, meaning it's multiple crises combined hitting at relatively the same time. And they're all interrelated. So, yes, we are in a crisis. Everybody can sense that, whether you're conscious of it or you repress it or suppress it. So that's whether you consciously hide it away or you subconsciously hide it away. Everyone is aware of it. Everyone can feel it. Again, you might repress it or suppress it. I think that the population of this planet will decrease significantly over this century. Will it go down to 0? I don't know. But I think it might go up for a little bit more, but then it's going to be going down quite significantly. So, how do we want to do that? How do we want to navigate that metacrisis, this metacrisis that we're in? Do we want to be at each other's throats, killing the weakest of us, in the hopes that whoever has the best guns and connections and wealth can survive and enslave everyone else? put shock collars on their security guards so that they have to obey the wealthy master? Is that how we want to go out? Because honestly, that doesn't sound very, very pleasant. I wouldn't want to be in that kind of life. I would fight that kind of life. Is there another way? Well, that's what I've been wondering. Is there another way? Is there a way where we can work together to support each other, to cooperate, to not be afraid of each other, but to appreciate each other, appreciate each other's differences, differences in capabilities, differences in needs, differences in beliefs. But to have the starting ground be a mutual respect and cooperation and love. Love meaning wishing the well-being of the other person. That would have to be the starting ground. What would that future look like? Well, I think a lot of this culture that we live in would change. Some of it would go away. This idea of mass consumption, hyper-consumption, would have to go away. This idea of killing and disappearing the weak members of society. I wouldn't say weak, I would say vulnerable. Would have to go away. There would have to be rules set in place to protect the people from people within that want to hurt and abuse others. That is, I think, what government should be. It should be for the people as a whole. It should be for the 99% of people who want to coexist. And it protects 99% of people from the 1% that want to hurt and abuse and enslave and destroy. I think government should be that way. Now, that's not how it is right now. But we're going to be going through this crisis one way or another. And I think that living conditions are going to get worse no matter what. So I'm not saying that if we do this, everyone's going to be able to live in McMansions and have jet skis and water slides in their backyard with inflatable rainbows and whatever and yummy ice pops. I'm not saying that by doing this, everyone's going to have a materially opulent lifestyle. I think no matter what, our material lifestyles are going to degrade because of these crises that I've already mentioned. And so the tempting thing, and that's what I think social media and corporate media are doing, they're tempting people to think oh, well, if I if I go along with these people that are inspiring hate and destruction, I might be able to be one of those people that gets to live in this opulent, luxurious lifestyle. So I'm going to go along with that because I might be a lucky winner. I might be a lottery winner. If I go along with this, and it feels good to like blame other people instead of myself. But if I go along with this, and it already feels good to I can blame my brown skinned neighbor or the woman or that gay person. If I blame them, and it feels already good, but if I blame them and I go along with this, I might be one of those lucky ones that gets to live in that tech overlord's city state that has all the food and everything, and I'll get to have water slides and ice pops and rainbows too. But in reality, that's not going to happen. If you're one of those people and you get rid of all the brown skinned people and all you make women have an inferior status to men, and get rid of all the people that believe in something different than you, and you're living in this tech overlord state, well, you're still going to be that person at the bottom of the food chain, either picking the crops from the field or fixing the robots that are picking the crops from the field, or you're going to be holding a rifle shooting people that are trying to get the food from this city state. You're not going to be the one with ice pops and water slides and rainbows. So that's the reality of it. But it is very tempting. And I think that that's what's tempting a lot of people to go along with this. They already don't feel good. They already are angry. They're angry with their life. They don't want to blame themselves. It hurts too much to also blame the system that we live in, because we rely on this system to survive. So it's almost like blaming a parent. If you have an abusive parent and you're the child and you rely on the parent for survival, well, you can't afford to blame the parent, because the parent might withdraw their support and then you die. So it's easier to blame yourself or blame something else or someone else. Yeah. We live in very troubling times. Well, this message of warning of this hate that is spread, hate and anger and otherness that is spread online, and encouraging empathy and togetherness, unity, and looking at things realistically and accepting that, yeah, we're in a very tough spot. We're in possibly one of the toughest spots that humans have been in up till now. Well, I don't know if that's true, but with all those metacrises, yeah, it might be true. This message will probably be drowned out by some influencer dude who looks all masculine and tells young men, if you want to be cool like me, you gotta beat up women and rape them and treat them like trash. Or a message from some government. Oh, the reason why you're so upset with your living condition is because of that trans person or that brown-skinned person who is a criminal. How do we know he's a criminal? Well, because he's brown skinned. You wouldn't want to have criminals living next to you, would you? These messages are so outrageous and hate-filled. They provoke anger. And they give people's egos a way to deflect from themselves so that they don't have to look at themselves. They don't have to find themselves. They don't have to accept who they are. They can direct all that anger and hate they have for themselves and their lives onto the other. That kind of message it has drowned out this kind of message. It's very concerning. Well, the best I can do is to keep making videos, sharing my thoughts and my concerns and my beliefs and what I see. The best I can do is to look at myself, to accept myself, to accept the good and bad parts, to accept the kind things I do and the evil things I do, to try not to do evil. Because evil really requires you to lie to yourself and other people. Evil is running away and hiding the consequences of harmful actions. That's what evil is. So if you actually are looking at yourself and accepting the good and bad parts and trying to do things from a place of love, well, that evil will be decreased just from self-awareness. But we all have those capabilities in our hearts all the time. It requires hard work. It requires courage to look at yourself. These people that scream at other people that they're pussies and cowards, well, I think they're projecting about themselves. If they had the courage to look at themselves and accept who they are and the choices that led them to the life they live, that would require a lot of courage that they don't have. Well, at least at this moment. Maybe they might have the courage later. I hope that they could develop that courage to find it somewhere. I wish for their well-being. I can love them. Doesn't mean that I open myself up to be hurt by them. I can wish for their well-being from afar, like I wish for the well-being of a grizzly bear from afar. I'm not going to get close to a grizzly bear. If a grizzly bear attacks me and I happen to have a rifle, I will kill that grizzly bear. But I am not going to provoke a grizzly bear, and I'm not going to intentionally get close to it. I will protect myself, and I can love that grizzly bear from afar. Well, those are some of the ideas that I've been thinking about. This hate that is projected through social media, through this platform, YouTube, through Instagram, through corporate media. It's really destructive. I think we need to stand up for ourselves. I think that we need to make government protect the 99%. that want to coexist. Well, it may not be 99%. I think there's a lot of people that don't want to coexist, but I think a lot of people they've fallen for this propaganda of division and fear, and that if we can come together and tell different stories of cooperation and love, and the appropriate amount of empathy. Now that's actually really important. I'm going to make a different video on that. The appropriate amount of empathy. Empathy, there's a billionaire in this country that says empathy is weakness. I think that's partially true. It's partially true if you don't have the right balance of empathy. I think empathy is a strength too, if you use it in the right way. And it can be a weakness. It can be both. It's the whole duality thing. I think saying it's just a weakness is false. It can actually be very strong. It can also make you vulnerable to people that want to hurt. So I'll make another video on the appropriate balance of empathy to love yourself and love other people without destroying yourself or destroying the other person. Life is not easy. Life is really effing hard. It is really hard. It requires courage. It requires strength. It requires resilience. It requires love for ourselves and others. It requires many other things. But the things I already talked about, they're not easy. Well, I'm going to stop this video here, and I'll make a video on the appropriate amount of empathy soon. I hope you have a good day or evening wherever you are, and I hope that this message of unity and love and the appropriate amount of empathy can spread through the interwebs and counteract all those messages of hate and anger and fear of the other. Bye.